Hello, everyone. I need to start my timer. I didn't start the right way. Well, here we go, because I'm still getting ready. Give me one moment.
Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now, if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Well, hello, everyone. Sorry for that premature start there. I didn't hit the right button, and I was still getting all liquored up. Gonna need a little liquor for this one. And hello, Sean and Mr. O'Donnell and Taranticia. Sean, send me a private message on Facebook, and I'll send you the link to the song. It's a remix, and it grows on you, doesn't it? I really love it. I'm not centered. Okay, let's move this. This is better. I changed my studio setup a little bit. And hello, Stephen. So, wowzer. All of this happened that we're going to be going over today, and this shouldn't be too long of a show. It's going to depend on y'all's comments. Thank you, Cowboy. I just came from work, so I'm still in my got a little skirt on and everything. Anyway, yeah, what was I saying? So this all happened right before Christmas, and it's what prompted Joshua Smith's motion on the list that got everyone all riled up. And we're going to talk about all of this. We're going to talk about Joshua Smith's clapback, which was fantastic. We're going to talk about the utter degradation of our principles by the staff of LP National. And there's going to be let me do this disclaimer now, and I'll say it multiple times. Most of staff is fantastic. For instance, Kara Schultz. Like, if we could clone Kara Schultz and put her in every single position on staff and on the LNC, including secretary, I would do it. She's fantastic. Most of staff is fantastic. So my criticism of staff, I will mention specific names. I only mean to criticize the names that I mention, not anyone else. And I feel bad for the rest of staff. But, you know, I'm just leading up to the intro here. Yes, Justin, I agree with you. And we will be getting to that. We certainly shall. I lost my train of thought. I'm so tired. A lot of work, very busy weekend. So what happened? So what we're going over today, the absolute perversion of libertarianism by staff. And I'm sorry, anyone who believes any of these things that I'm going to bring forth that staff believes, and the chair of the party seemed to indicate agreement. Now, she just might have been very rude and didn't mean to imply what she is going to imply. So she didn't say it directly. I'm not going to say our LP chair believes this. She certainly seemed to imply it. If she does believe it, and I'll say anyone who believes what we're going to go over today, they're not a libertarian. I'm sorry, they are not a libertarian. And that's fine. You want to stay in the party, you want to give money, you want to volunteer, you're welcome. Unlike staff members, I don't tell people they belong in another party. So, oh yeah, I do need to grift as well, Sean. Yeah, so we're going to go over today some things staff said, some things the LP chair said, and crap, and this part is really difficult for me because it's a very fine line. The person who fraudulently filled my allegedly vacant seat is a super, super nice guy. I really like him as a person. I'm not a fan of the job he's doing as secretary. And yeah, this could sound a little salty, and perhaps it is just me being a little bitchy. I will own that. But the fine line for me is I don't want to negatively campaign. And this isn't really a campaign video. This is the type of video I do whether or not I was running against this person or not. And I'm trying to really straddle that line. But I've never seen a ballot get so screwed up. Like, we will, hello, Douglas. So yeah, we'll go over it. And I'm trying to like straddle that line because I don't want to be a negative campaigner. But I also do have to look at the job performance like I would do with everyone else. Like, I feel free to criticize Whitney because I'm not running against her, but I'm like holding back when it comes about anyone I'm running against. And it's weird for me. It's weird. So let's set up the scene. But first, let's have a drink. And Justin, I got some clips from your show that I'm going to end up doing on the Liberty Boudoir. And I ended up watching Logan's Run like 7 times. I blame both of you. Yes. Okay. So here's what's going on. We all know about the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. And then came the Libertarian Party of Delaware. And now marching on down that road is the Libertarian Party of Massachusetts. And what's so funny is the way so many people cry about the Mises Caucus. Their takeover. Oh my God, they're taking over the party. How are they taking over the party? By winning at convention? It's so funny for all the whining and kvetching that the Mises people, whether you like them or not, are following the rules. And the people that are opposing the Mises people are breaking all the rules and being dishonest cheats. So, I wonder who has ethics here. It's just an observation, okay? Delaware, they had to cheat. New Hampshire, they tried to cheat. Now it's happening in Massachusetts. Now, the Massachusetts board is not a Mises board. But, you know, what was that rap album that came out a long time ago? Fear of a Black Planet, right? They're living in fear of a Mises planet, fear of a Mises party. So what's been going on in Massachusetts is part of the waterfall effect after my fraudulent removal. They decided they were going to remove a very, very mean bird named Rothbardian, whose nest I ended up staying in when I was up in Massachusetts, because she threatened that she was going to troll. And in the bill of her removal, whatever you want to call it, and it wasn't just a removal like from a board like me, they threw her out of the frickin' party. All I can say is I am so grateful that the National Committee does not have the power to throw somebody out of the party, because you know they would have thrown me out of the party. Because they cannot stand that I am a truth teller to them. And the funny thing, and I've got both criticism and praise for Laura Epke. I got a funny Laura Epke story to tell. It will end with some praise, but it took a while to get there, because I do give credit where credit is due. So, yeah. She was going to troll, and they said trolling was aggression. And that was a direct waterfall from removing me because my criticism, my mean, barbed criticism of the LNC that hurt their precious little feels was aggression. It's absolutely unreal. So there are people in Massachusetts, members, that are not very happy with the board. And in fact, they're frightened of what this board is going to do, because they decided they're going to pass a code of conduct. And from what I understand, this code of conduct got watered down a bit, but it includes provisions. Someone will have to correct me if those provisions aren't still in there. I saw the original version that, like, you couldn't criticize Libertarian candidates. And part of the reason that was in there is because the chair of Massachusetts, who as a person I adore, it's Ashley Shade. I think she is such a nice lady. I'm not a fan of her libertarian philosophy, and I might even put libertarian in quotes there, because if you think trolling is aggression, I doubt your libertarianism. I will say it. But as a person, she's a sweetheart. She's a beautiful person. I know some people will disagree with me, and you'll just have to disagree with me. I like her as a person. But from what I understand, in her campaign, she was like campaigning for more tax dollars to be spent, you know, and people were criticizing that. I don't know enough about her campaign to have an opinion one way or another. She ended up winning, and congratulations to her. But part of the code of conduct was that you couldn't criticize libertarian candidates. How authoritarian bullshit can you get? And you couldn't criticize other libertarians, and you couldn't criticize the board. It's just this draconian, you know, tyrannitarian party of Massachusetts kind of bullcrap, like McVeigh bullcrap. And what some Mises people in Massachusetts, and including non-Mises people, by the way, who weren't too happy with this, saw coming was what McVeigh did, is a systematic attempt to try to find cover to remove people prior to their state convention so they couldn't vote in a board you didn't like. So they looked at their bylaws and saw that they were allowed to call for a special convention of the members. I think it was 10% of the membership in Massachusetts could, by petition, call for a special convention. And that's a wonderful provision to have. And it's for any legal purpose. So they filed a petition. And this has kind of somewhat been kept under wraps, but I know their petition is valid because I helped them parliamentary-wise with it. And I am proud to do it because it's a member right. And they filed a petition to have a recall election of their board. The delegates, when they come to this special convention, could choose to re-elect the entire board. Or not any of them, or some of them. But this is entirely a member right. They followed the rules. Go figure. They didn't pull a McVeigh. They actually followed the rules. So what happens after they file this petition? Well, for one thing, there's board discussions that are supposed to be held in view of the membership. We have that in Colorado as well. And after they filed this petition, it was kind of like when I filed my appeal. There was radio silence, and you know damn well the board was talking about it. There was no way they were quiet about it. They were talking about it illegitimately in private. There is absolutely nothing about a member petition that belongs in executive session unless you view your membership as your enemy. Same thing with my appeal. The LNC absolutely illegitimately discussed it in private, and I call upon the next LNC to release those discussions. The next LNC needs to release those discussions. And I see we have somebody who's very delusional in chat. Welcome. I hope you get the help that you need. But as long as you're polite and not doxing anyone, you're welcome to be here and say your opinion. And it's McVeigh with an A, by the way. All right. So that's what's going on. And it turns out there is an LP staff member who is part of the state committee in Massachusetts. Now, I might get some of these titles wrong because each affiliate has different titles. Like in boards, in Colorado, we only have a board. Like we don't have a state committee, executive committee, this committee, that committee. We just have a board of directors. So I'm not accustomed to all these different kinds of titles that are in other states. So I understand it's called the state committee from what I understand. And our development director, Tara DeSisto, who, and I know Justin's going to disagree with me, and hello, Coalition Radio there. I know Justin's going to disagree with me, but I think Tara is a very good fundraiser. I don't have like a personal beef with Tara. But I'm going to give you some history. And anyone could go look up these discussions. So some of them may have been in private, some of them were in public. When Tara was hired, she was not a libertarian. I don't know if she was an independent or a Republican. I suspect that she was a Republican, but a Massachusetts Republican, which is basically a Democrat. She worked with Bill Weld. As I knew, Justin would disagree with me. It's okay. We don't all have to agree. And sometimes I try to give the benefit of the doubt to a fault. And once I'm like over it, like, you know, it's gone too far. I objected strenuously to us hiring as our fundraiser someone who wasn't a libertarian. Like, to me, that's 101. You're giving our donor list to someone who was an operative for Bill Weld and isn't a libertarian. I objected. I absolutely objected. I'm going to tell you something about the way the LNC is structured. No one on the LNC has unrestricted access to our donor lists, not even the chair. But the development director does. So we were giving that to a non-libertarian. I object to any member of our staff not being a libertarian. Because what also happens, it's like if you're at a church and they hire a worship leader and that's not a Christian. It's like, hello, you know, how could you possibly advocate for Christianity if you're not a Christian? How can you possibly advocate for libertarianism if you're not a libertarian? And I think we've seen the seeds of this. Now, allegedly, Tara is now a libertarian. But if she believes these things we're going to be putting up on the screen, no, she isn't. No, she isn't. And what happens, and this isn't fair to her, when you take somebody who's not a certain ideology and you insert them into an ideological organization, be it a church, be it an ideological political party, there's tremendous pressure on that person to become what the organization is, even if that's not necessarily their genuine conviction. You know, it's like when you raise kids, you raise them Christian, they go off to college, sometimes they don't stay Christian because it was never their convictions, they just reflected their parents' convictions. And that's what happens sometimes when you put people in these kinds of positions. It's not fair to them and it's not fair to the organization. And why I say allegedly a libertarian now, because there was multiple controversies over the time of Tara's fundraising. For one thing, There's arguments about whether this happened or didn't. I believe it happened. I believe the people who told me it happened is there was certain very strong pro-gun messaging that we wanted to run on the front page of lp.org, and it got pulled by Tara because she said our donors don't like it. What? Our donors don't like libertarian messaging? Too bad. Too bad. Are we run by principle or are we run by the almighty dollar? And I got into it with her in Utah. She wanted to pick a fight with me. I wasn't going to argue with her. Plus, I wasn't feeling so well that day when she was talking with me about my objections about this messaging we were doing where all we would talk about was legalization of marijuana. That is not our platform. Our platform is legalization of all drugs. Does that include meth? Yes, sir. Does that include heroin? Yes, ma'am, it does. And she said our donors do not like that. And I said, too bad, so sad, cry me a river. And that's why I started going party of principle. Okay. No, our principles aren't for sale. And this LNC has been going wrong a while. What they did to me was just the culmination of a long period of compromise. But let's get back to Massachusetts. So I'm introducing the players. So Tara is on the board of the Libertarian Party of Massachusetts. I have a huge problem with any staff member being on a state board. And I've had some people get very upset at me for saying that. So I'd like to explain why. Our staff has to be neutral. Now, Nick Sarwark blew that frickin' out of the water. Let's back up a bit to Nick Sarwark here, shall we? Dan Fishman has pretty much admitted that he was pressured by Nick to try to color the attendance of last convention because they were in fear of a Mises takeover. And Daniel Hayes had a Zoom room that Daniel Fishman and Nick Sarwark were in because they must have clicked the wrong link, and he was going into his own Zoom room, so he wasn't trespassing, and he overheard a very interesting conversation between the two of those plotting to color the convention and rig things. And Tara was instrumental in getting Daniel Hayes thrown off the convention committee because she has to boss everything. Listen, I get it. I have a very strong personality as well. She and I are a lot alike. But she's staff. She's not the boss. She doesn't run everything, and she needs to learn that. She's trying to do it in Massachusetts, too. With all this crap she's saying in Massachusetts, there are things that the chair should be saying. She's not the chair of Massachusetts. If these things need to be said, they need to be said by the chair, not by her. So why do I have an issue with staff being on a state board? Because they cannot possibly be neutral to the rest of the party if they're on a state board. Each state affiliate has their own interests and their own culture that's not the general interest and general culture of the entire party. Plus, staff's jobs, unfortunately, I would not want to be them, are up in the air every 2 years. When the LNC changes, they wonder, do I still have a job? And I think that's quite a very stressful position to be in. I don't envy them, but that's the position they're in. And when you're on a state board, you have a great deal of influence as to who gets to be delegates in your state at convention, the delegates who will vote for the people who will determine whether or not you still have a job. That is such a huge conflict of interest. You cannot be neutral. We need to prohibit staff from being on state boards, even if we don't prohibit it. Like in our policy manual, we should say this is a conflict of interest. These people on the LNC thought my freaking YouTube channel, when I'm not even staff, I was elected to be a partisan. I was elected on certain partisan grounds, removed me, violated the will of the delegate, saying my freaking little tiny YouTube channel with 3,300 subscribers that boomer Laura Epke thought was big for conflict of interest. Yet they don't see a conflict of interest with staff. The hypocrisy is so freaking rich. These people are so fucking corrupt. My God. Anyway, the conflict of interest is even greater with Tara, because Jeff Douglas, whether he had authority to say this or not, apparently in New Hampshire said to her, when the Mises takeover happens, you're out of a job. So she really was very much aware that her job depends upon there not being a Mises takeover. Now, he did not have the blessing of the Mises Caucus to say that. I do not know whether that is the opinion of the Mises Caucus. I am not in leadership in the Mises Caucus, nor do I desire to be. I'm just a rank and file member. But it was certainly his opinion. And members are allowed to have opinions. Now, I love to answer LP Mises Caucus or GOP plants. Board members, LNC members, are allowed to have whatever conflicts they want. They're not staff. They're not paid, as long as the delegates were aware of it. Now, I wouldn't have a problem, to be honest with you, if we prohibited LNC members from being on state boards as well. I don't think that would be a bad idea, because I certainly do think that the delegates did not elect the chair of Texas, the second largest affiliate in the country, to be the chair of the party. I certainly don't think the delegates did that. When I was first elected to the LNC in 2016, I was on the board of Colorado. But arguably, when I became Secretary of Colorado, we don't have officers in Colorado. We only have board of directors, so I'm not an officer of a state party. But arguably, delegates could have a problem with me being on the board of Colorado. I think that's a very fair point, LP Mises Caucus or GOP plants. And I wouldn't have a problem with prohibiting LNC members from being on state boards, but I certainly think if you're getting a paycheck. But LNC members are not required to be neutral at all, whatsoever. Staff is. And Justin points out, Tara called Mises members terrorists at the PA convention. The Mises Caucus, whether you like it or not, are a significant portion of our membership, and Tara has no business calling them names and making enemies of them. That is not her job as staff. I've complained multiple times, both when I was on the LNC and after I was on the LNC, to our executive director about her behavior in this regard. And nothing gets ever done. Meanwhile, Gideon Oakes got fired for protesting Joe Bishop Henchman's resignation. He was a one strike and you're out. I do not know why Tara is so protected. She's good at her job, but a lot of people would be good at that job. None of us are irreplaceable. None of us. I don't get why she's protected and Gideon Oakes wasn't. I don't get it. Staff is supposed to be neutral, and you certainly do not interfere with delegate selection. You certainly do not influence delegate selection. You just do not. And from what I understand, Gideon wanted me to be removed because he blamed me for Joe Bishop Henchman resigning. And I still love Gideon. He's entitled to that opinion. I don't get ass mad over one bad opinion. Members are allowed, and staff members are allowed to have personal opinions I don't like. Now, should he have advocated for that? No. Do I think he should have gotten fired with one offense? No. And up until recently, I didn't think Tara should be. I'm going to tell you something Tara did at the 50th anniversary, and when I went and lodged a complaint about it, I did not advocate for her to be fired. I just asked for it to stop. I said, it's out of control, it needs to stop. But it hasn't stopped. So I was in the 50th anniversary, the Historical Preservation Committee room at the 50th anniversary in Denver. Tara comes barreling in there in front of multiple members. I can name one of them, Elizabeth Briley, who was there to hear it. I don't know the names of the other members that were in the room. She probably does. And just starts laying in on me about the Mises Caucus. And telling me, which I already knew the story, about how Jeff Douglas said she was going to be fired. So it shows that she's just really upset and worried about her job. And I don't blame her. But I do blame her for when she is working Like some people go, well, does she do this on her personal time? Well, that wasn't on her personal time. She was on the clock for us then. She's not technically hourly, but she was working the 50th anniversary and just starts railing about the Mises Caucus. And I said to her, why are you even bringing this up to me? First, I said, Tara, this conversation is highly inappropriate for you to be having. And why are you laying into me like this? I'm not even a Mises Caucus member, because at the time I was not. She goes, you're their den mother. And I'm like, oh my fucking God, Tara, that was a joke. Like, everyone knows that was a joke. Cool your jets. And I'm asking you once again, stop this conversation. It's inappropriate and you're making me very uncomfortable. And she kept going. So I said, all right, since you will not stop, I will remove myself from this conversation. And I walked out of the room, and as I'm walking down the hall, I hear her still going off. And I walked down the hall, went into the main room, and immediately found Tyler Harris and lodged a formal complaint about her behavior as inappropriate. And I said to him, I don't want her to get fired. I just want her to stop this bad behavior. This isn't the first time she's done it. And apparently it would not be the last. And then since then, she ended up on the Massachusetts board, and that's where we find ourselves in our story now. I think I tied all the ends together. You guys let me know if everything's clear so far. It's like I have the whole story in my head, but I might not have it coherent. So, the Mises people and some non-Mises people who do not like the trajectory of the Massachusetts board, which Tara is on, got together and filed this petition for a special convention. And the agenda, and when they file the petition, they have to say what they want on the agenda. And all they had on the agenda was recall of the board, potential recall, a new board election. And it was signed by more than enough members, because when they asked me how many people they should have sign it, I said, treat it like a ballot access petition and count on a 70% validity. Now, I'm not sure how many they ended up getting signing, but I know they had more, because I said this board is going to try to throw your signatures out. They shouldn't, but they will. And I was hoping I was wrong, but I wasn't. And the only person who has been communicating with the member group is Tara. She's not the chair. So what's the first thing she tries to do? Throw valid member signatures out by claiming that monthly dues payers aren't real dues payers. Now that brings up all kinds of problems, because another issue we used to have with Tara is that she would belittle members who would write the LNC if they weren't national dues payer. I'm sorry, if you signed a non-aggression pledge, you're a member of National, whether you gave 1 red cent or not. But she would belittle people. So and she interfered in my removal, by the way. So when we got back with Richard Longstreth's first vindictive motion to remove me, she abuses her posting privileges on the LNC list. Only Tyler Harris should have posting privileges on that list, because she constantly barges in. And she did it just the other day. So she barges in with all these member emails that were coming in and said, by the way, most of these people are not dues paying members. Fuck you. Nobody asked you. And it isn't your business to belittle publicly the members who are writing. Whether they've given money or not, they have a right to have their opinion heard, and that is no way to get their money. And I could find the email. I should try to find the email. Crap, I wish I had this up where I had to lodge a complaint, because somebody told, and I posted this publicly too, because somebody told me, she wrote back to a member complaint and said, I'm not going to even listen to you till you're a dues payer. So they turned around and became a dues payer just so they could, September 6th. Oh, and here, I got to show you guys something here that she did with me as well. Let me download that. She commented after my removal in a completely inappropriate way, and I complained about that as well. because she thinks she's cute. I'm trying to find that really rude comment she made. So this would be back in June. Complaint raised staff. Here we go. And here's what I wrote. Tara was completely out of line, inserting herself into my removal motion by publicly shaming members writing for not being dues payers and discounting my support. That is outrageous. Oh, funny, here's what else I said. On another note, I would like you to reconsider reinstating Gideon after some time. He is a good man who didn't understand the issues at hand. I advocated for Gideon to be rehired. And then I said, and I would also like to know what happened with this. Members have also complained to me about her intrusion. And, okay, and I thanked staff for responding to me about her bad behavior. But there was another one I'm trying to find. Nope, that's the comment. I'll have to try to find it some other time, but a really rude comment she had made to a member. Okay, I do not have that. And by the way, Aaron Adams also brought up a complaint that I didn't really consider at first, and she's right. When Tyra first came on board, when we were calling people to ask them to donate, she would be listening in on the phone call, and the members would not be informed of this. And Aaron Adams rightly lost her mind over this and said, that's such an invasion of privacy. You can't have someone else eavesdropping in on a conversation unless you tell that person. And they're still doing this, by the way. They're still doing this. I would never do it again after Aaron brought it up. And I did engage in that once. And it didn't even occur to me how inappropriate it was until Aaron Adams brought it up. But that's shady. You don't do that. You know? But anyway. So yeah, the dues payers who aren't dues payers. So only dues paying members count as members to sign the petition. She said if you pay monthly, you're not actually a dues payer. Yet if you go to the Libertarian Party in Massachusetts site, unless they changed it, but we have a screenshot of it in case they did, it says, I don't even know if that's legal, the coalition radio. I do not know, but you know that's going on. Whitney mentioned it at the last LNC meeting, how she had call time with Tara and raised $8,000. I wouldn't do it anymore. After Aaron brought it up, I'm like, you're right. And I felt like really shitty for not even seeing that myself. But, so if you go to the Libertarian Party in Massachusetts site, it says become a member. And it gives you two options. You pay monthly or you pay yearly. But she's claiming until you've accumulated enough for a yearly membership, you're not a member. Their bylaws do not say that. Their website does not say that. Nowhere has that ever been considered. That is so frickin' gross. And I see some comments. Yes, and thank you. There's always, my audience is better than I am at my grifting. Smash that like button, right? Yes, please. And please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. I am a terrible grifter, and I got removed for grifting, and I suck at it. Maybe I have to have somebody, oof, that was strong. Maybe I need to have somebody eavesdrop so I can grift better. And while I'm thinking of grifting, we're almost at the end of the year. I have a major Patreon goal I would love to hit by the end of the year, and I only need $12 a month in additional patrons. If you like this kind of content, because no one else is doing these kinds of exposés, even though this isn't what I enjoy the history much more. You don't get this content anywhere else. Please consider becoming a patron. Oh, Diana, you didn't miss the best part. Oh, you're going to love what's coming. You're going to love it, hon. So, first she tries to throw out membership signatures to save her own board seat. And this is an LP staff member. So inappropriate. But then she's talking with one of the leaders of the petition movement, whose name is Brody. I'm not doxing him. This is public all over Facebook. And she kept saying to him, your aggression is unwarranted, and just going on and on and on with him about aggression. So he asked her flat out, how am I being aggressive? And she said to him, your petition itself is aggression against the board. Members exercising their rights under the bylaws to recall the board, a LP staff member said was aggression. Did Jeff Hewitt engage in aggression against Newsom in California when he ran against him in a recall election? What frickin' hypocrisy. Recall petitions are now aggression, according to an LP staff member. That is our fundraiser that talks to our biggest donors. You don't believe me? Mama's got receipts. Mama's going to show you receipts because Mama always got receipts. Let's pull this up. I've got them downloaded. I just don't have them labeled. That's not it. That's not it. Here we go. Here we go. Brody, Tara DeSisto, where have I shown aggression? Tara, Brody Elwood, the petition itself is an act of aggression against the state committee. What the actual flying fuck? Fuck you, Tara. That is not aggression, and that is not libertarianism, and that is not the way you treat members. This is outrageous. And this was done either on Christmas Eve or the day before Christmas Eve, which is important when we start talking about Joshua's posts. Outrageous. Then, members got rightfully upset about this. But you've got to remember, I said this when this was going on with me. The attitude of most people on this LNC, besides the good ones, I know I keep got to doing that disclaimer, they're not all bad, view member complaints and member input as a bother. It's the peasants. The peasants are bothering the priests. And that's why, during my removal, they filtered out. Did you know this? When you wrote the LNC, they created a filter. Some of them, I know John Phillips did, personally. A filter that would filter out the keywords that are stuck at the middle. Like it's a form that you submit on the website. So I suggest you never do that again. Just write them all individually. Yeah, they do see the input of alternates as a bother, Pat. They do. So, or the Coalition Radio. I hope I'm not everyone knows you're the Coalition Radio. So I'm so like sensitive to not like doxing people. So this is before your time, Pat, but this is what they did. Ken Mullman was being helpful when he taught them how to create this filter. Ken read all the member emails, but the others did not. I know it. So you and Pat knows the way member comments come in, it has a certain tagline up at the top of the email. So it's easy to create a Gmail filter that will take all those emails and put them into a folder so that you never have to see them. And that's what they did, because the 1,300 or so people that wrote protesting my removal were a bother. Now, I will give it up to Susan. Susan read all the ones from Region 5. There were some people who did. Now, she responded to them in a completely haughty, high-handed manner, but at least she read them. But most of them just filter it out. They don't care to hear from members. So, in order to prove that now, I want to show you an absolutely shocking, and Pat, I'm not telling you can't do this anyway as an alternate, but I'm going to show you guys a response that our chair, Whitney Bilyeu, gave to a member who wrote concerned about Tara's outrageous behavior. And it is so rude that my jaw dropped. When I read it to my husband, his jaw dropped. This is our party chair. Remember, I got removed allegedly for being rude to members. And I will tell you, there were 3 circumstances when I was rude. 1, I was rude to the guy from Fakertarians who wrote. And you want to know what I did immediately after I sent that email? I felt bad about it because I want member input. And what I did after I sent that rude email, before I could even be chastised, I wrote him back and apologized. I wrote the LNC and apologized. And I went on social media, who didn't even know I sent this email, and apologized because it was unworthy of me. The second time I was rude was to a guy in Colorado who personally witnessed somebody threatening to kill me and meaning it, and said nothing, was quiet. And I called him out because he's always Mr. Decorum, Mr. this and Mr. that, and he didn't say a word while this crazy-ass lady out of Colorado threatened to kill me. So I do not feel bad in the slightest for calling him out about that. But he's one of Laura Epke's ass kissers, so I guess I'm not allowed to be rude to him. But I will be rude to anyone who is silent when somebody is threatened with lethal bodily harm. Yes. The third time I was rude was to Chase Oliver because he follows me all over social media and just badgers me. And I wasn't rude to him in my role as an LNC member. Neither was I rude to the guy from Colorado as an LNC member. Those were all in my personal life. The one in Colorado was speaking as a LPCO board member. And the one to Mr. Oliver was speaking personally. And I'm willing to make up any day with Chase Oliver, any day he wants to be. Because I don't have anything personally against him. He just follows me everywhere and badgers me. I don't dislike the guy. But when he was being a dick, I said he was being a dick. And that's why that was cited in my removal motion. Meanwhile, John Phillips, the way he abused Andy Jacobs is inexcusable. He never got reprimanded for that. The one time I was rude to a member in my role as LNC secretary, I apologized publicly and to everybody, even people who didn't even know about it until I told them about it. Now, let's look at this rude-ass email that Whitney Bill U sent to a member who was concerned about Tara DeSisto. This email is inexcusable, and if I were on the LNC now, I would move for her censure. Now, Pat, you can't do that. You're an alternate. Any other LNC members here? Grow a backbone and publicly chastise her, particularly if you're one of the cowards that voted for my removal and you're ignoring how rude John Phillips is to people, and you're going to ignore here how rude the chair was. I'm going to show you the email because Mama's got her receipts. This is inexcusable from the party chair. And I knew about this on Christmas Eve, but because everyone was so like, the holiday, I said I would wait till the 27th to share it. And it's the 27th, bitches. Let me find it. Here we go. The member asked me to redact their name, which I did. So, the bottom part on Christmas Eve in the morning, you can see from the member, it says, Tara DeSisto says petitions against the board are acts of aggression. This is not libertarianism. And the fact that she has a paid position is troubling. I am asking for her removal immediately. Also, will public comment ever be allowed in meetings again? Whitney Bill U has banned them for a few, and this was sent to Whitney, Ken, and I forgot whoever else. Now look at her response. Whitney says to this member, there seems to be a great deal of confusion about what libertarianism is. And I'm guessing you're not the leading expert, but thanks for the heads up. What a bitchy response. I'm agog that she talked to a member that way who had a very valid complaint. And just check out what is being implied here. By her saying there seems to be a great deal about what libertarianism is, and you're not an expert on it, Mr. Pesky Member, seems to be implying that he's wrong in his criticisms of Terra de Sisto and that petitions against the board are acts of aggression. Well, Ms. Bilyeu, I'm guessing you aren't the leading expert in what libertarianism is either. I am agog at the rudeness of this email. The patronizing, how dare you address me, peasant. But this is right in line with the hate mail that she wrote to certain segments of the party. In LP News, she wrote a hate letter. And then she continues, with regard to public comment at meetings, you don't actually watch them and it shows. Your ignorance is not even close to being my problem. Oh my fucking God. And I got removed? This is censurable behavior. We're going to go over the hate letter. Libertarian Revolution. Now, the member was wrong, slightly, where he says Whitney Bilyeu has banned public comment from the past few meetings. That is not correct. She banned public comment from one meeting. So it wasn't a couple, it was one. It was the last one, the one on November 21st. Not only did she not allow public comment, I'll send you the screenshot, Justin. I had sent it to a few people already, but I promised I wasn't going to make it widely public until today. She not only banned public comment from the November 21st meeting, she turned off the chat. We've never done that before. So he is wrong that she banned them from the past few. She only banned them from one. But at the December meeting, she cut off. Okay, but oh, that's fine. I could also send you the original if it doesn't come out well, Justin. And she cut off public comment at the December meeting. So she's wrong. She did ban public comment. This is just rude. This is just rude, nasty, entitled, patronizing bitchiness. And as an expert in bitchiness myself, I know bitchiness when I see it. I just cannot believe she wrote this to a member. And if I know about this one because the member sent it to me, how many was there like this that we don't know about? This is entirely inappropriate for the chair of this party. If she did not like what this member had to say, she could have just not responded. Or even done a little passive aggressiveness or just said, thank you very much for your email, and left it at that. She did not have to respond this way. This is inappropriate and censurable. And, according to the LNC's own definition, aggression. Now let's look at the hate letter to the members that she published in LP News, shall we? Mama's got receipts. Mama brings her receipts. Let me find them, though. 1 second here. I should always label these screenshots before I... Did I not download it? Hold on. I didn't download that one. Hold on. I need to download it. Let me go over to my drive. Why didn't I download that one? There it is. Because it's a picture. It's not a screenshot. Okay. I'm downloading it now. Now, a member highlighted a part that's really grievous, but actually the paragraph before he highlighted is even worse. But I'm going to pull it up now. Is this it? Nope. But it's CJ Abernathy. I have his picture. He hasn't been here. I miss you, CJ. Where are you? Hold on. Let me find it. Where did this download? Did it download to my desktop? Hold on. Show in Finder. It's in downloads. Okay, I don't know why. Hold on one second. Sometimes my Mac takes a while to recognize that something, like the folder changed, if I have it open. Where is it? I'm sorry, guys. I might have to quit and restart my Finder. Well, you want to know what? I'm just going to pull it up from here and share my screen. Let me just share my screen so I don't keep you guys waiting. My monitor's over here if you're wondering why I'm looking over there. There we go. Okay. So this was published in the LP News. It is the letter from the chair. It's supposed to be a feel-good type thing. And she basically made it like this bitchy little hate letter to the members. So the highlighted part says, as chair of the LNC, it is easy to forget who the opposition is when the sentiment expressed by those who are our own team is indistinguishable from that of our declared opponents. So she is complaining. She is using space in LP News that we pay for to complain about members that have complaints and calls them basically the same as the state. I'm sorry, dear. You are elected by the LNC, not by the delegates, to have to listen to these things. But the paragraph above it is even worse. The paragraph above it relates to the email she sent to that member because it's the same exact attitude, which is how I know she sent similar emails to more people. So the top part says, I need to put on my glasses. Taking time to reflect on successes is a solid therapeutic approach when it feels like all one does is put out fires, field complaints, and explain things in practical terms to theoretical experts. The contempt for the member that oozes from this hate letter is just disgusting. That even Nick, arrogant Nick, never wrote letters like this. It's, I don't think she hears herself. It's just unfathomable to me. Now, before we move on to some more Terra de Sisto comments, well, actually, to more current Terra de Sisto comments, I want to show you something she said after my removal. Because she's not neutral, and she's in the Sarwark's pocket. Let me find it. Okay, who posted this? Nick posted this, and you'll have to look at Tara's comment. Okay, here we go. Nick posts a picture of a pink drink right after my removal with a stick in it. Now, I don't think Nick meant anything by this, but notice what Tara said. She said, that's a good looking skewer, right? That's a good looking skewer, Valerie Sarwark. It was a dig at me, that they skewered me. Totally inappropriate for staff, and yes, I did complain about it, and yes, nothing happened. Now, is there a possibility that she didn't mean that by that? I suppose so, but I don't think so. I'm not stupid, and you're not stupid. All right. Now let's look at something where she picked a fight with George Phillies. George Phillies and I are not friends. George Phillies and I do not agree on very much. George Phillies wanted me removed. But right is right. And George Phillies is opposing Terra de Sisto, and he is right. I'm going to show you some things here. Let me find the exchange she had with George Phillies. All right, here we go. So I don't have the quote above it because I have George blocked. I don't have Tara blocked, but she untagged herself from my post calling her out. I don't know if she's blocked me by now. But you can tell from the context, she was, basically wanting him to recite the blood oath or something like that. And George said, I'm sorry, but in America, we have freedom of speech. You wouldn't think that would be controversial for a libertarian to say. Calling people impolite names is not a crime. Oh, au contraire, mon frere, George. It's a removable offense. And while I agree with you here, George, you wanted me removed for those things. So cry me a fucking river, though I am going to take your side here. It may, depending upon the name. Oh, okay. So my names, where I called them corrupt bastards. No. It may, depending on the name, lead me to disapprove of the person or conclude that they are unfit for office. That there is him getting a dig at me. But that's okay. I don't care. Me being opposed by all the right people is a badge of honor. But it is not a crime. If you claim speech, not immediate incitement to violence should be a crime, you are in the wrong party. A member has every right to say that to a staffer. Tara says, George, if you do not stand up against racism, you are complicit in it. So silence allegedly is complicity. And I don't like George, but one thing George is not is a fucking racist. Fuck you, Tara. If you are complicit in racism, then you, sir, are in the wrong party. A paid staffer has no business telling a party member, and not just a party member, but as Justin says, a 6-figure lifetime donor, that he's in the wrong party. At least he's been a libertarian this whole time, Tara. And if you think that somebody who chooses, they're not racist themselves, but they just don't feel like engaging in your little jihad, that they're in the wrong party, you're in the wrong party, chickadee. This is vile. And this has no place in the LP. George is not a racist. And how dare you insinuate he is? Okay, let me see what else I've got here. We've got a lot more to cover, but I think that might be all for the... No, I've got one more screenshot that I want to remind you guys of, because I don't want anyone to ever forget this. Okay, back before Whitney was the illegitimate chair, and the reason I say that is because Ken Molman is the legitimate chair per our bylaws. I wish we would have appealed that. Remember, Whitney, before she was chair, said in the vote to disaffiliate New Hampshire when she was representative, Region 7 rep, this motion does not provide the information required to properly consider the question of disaffiliation. However, I cannot bring myself to vote against it. Therefore, I abstain. How dare you? Imagine that was your state. You just so blithely. I wonder if the rest of her states in her region agreed with that. I wonder if she asked them. I don't want anyone to ever forget that. That should be blown up on a banner in Reno. Okay, let me just double check my folder to make sure I don't have any other screenshots before we move on. I don't think I do. Oh, I do. But it has nothing to do with this, but before I forget. All right, we're going to get back to Tara. We're taking a little interlude here. There was a vote to fill my fraudulently vacant seat on the APRC. And Sarwark, Valerie, was slotted to fill it, which some of my friends voted for her, and I'm sorry, I am very ass-mad about that, because that's just an utter insult against me. And they know it. I spoke to both of them about this. I'm speaking of Stephen Nikala and Eric Roudsup. I spoke to them personally, that I found it personally offensive. They have their reasons. They're grown men. They can do what they want. But, so the person who I like, who has fraudulently filled my seat, John, during his nomination speech, claimed to have parliamentary skills to brag about. I don't have his exact words. I don't think he basically called himself a parliamentarian, but admitted he wasn't a registered parliamentarian, but touted this as part of his qualifications. What John has is a membership to the National Association of Parliamentarians. Any person in this chat could be a member of the National Association of Parliamentarians. It requires $110 a year in dues, and you pass a very simple exam. If you know what a motion is, you could pass the exam. It does not qualify you to say you have parliamentary credentials. Now, some people do, who are members of the National Association of Parliamentarians, NAP. The day before I got my RP designation, I was just as qualified as the day after. But it doesn't automatically mean you have qualifications. You might not. You don't cite that in a nomination speech as some kind of qualification. It isn't. And that's insulting to those of us who actually were qualified. It is. I've done the work. I have done the work. And now I have the credential to prove it. I am a registered parliamentarian. And I was, it's like stolen valor, Don't claim credentials and accomplishments you don't have. So there was a ballot. The motion for the ballot that said we're going to do this ballot for APRC said we're going to use ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting in a single winner race is instant runoff voting, IRV. Baked into IRV is the fact that the winner gets a majority. It might not be on the first round, but you keep going subsequent rounds until they get a majority. This is basic. This is absolutely basic. Anyone who's a registered parliamentarian or who has parliamentary actual credentials knows this. I would think almost any libertarian knows this, but definitely if you're claiming to be a qualified in parliamentary procedure, you know this. Yet, on this last APRC ballot, the person who fraudulently filled my seat is saying, oh, the enabling motion didn't say the winner required a majority, so there's no majority required to win. It said it's ranked choice voting. That means you require a majority. Otherwise, there's no point in doing ranked choice voting. That's the whole point. Now, did it matter to the results? It was still going to be the same winner. It's just a matter of principle with me that if you're going to claim you have parliamentary credentials, you should know this. Otherwise, don't claim credentials that other people have worked their ass off for. I've worked my ass off for this credential. So, the screenshot I do have here is how this should actually look. Though Ken Moman did correct the record. Okay, here's the thing. I'm still doing my job, by the way, so I'm still tracking votes because I'm still the duly elected secretary by the people who have the actual authority to do it, not corrupt LNC members, but the delegates. And this is actually how the ballot should look. As you can see, round 1, Valerie had 7 votes. That is not a majority. So we went to round 2, where she ended up with 10, because Chris Lucchini had 3. He got eliminated. So Longstreth, Lucchini, and Phillips' second place choices then went to the next person, and they all went to Valerie. Then she got a majority. Again, it was going to be Valerie no matter what. But if you're going to claim to have knowledge, you better have the chops to prove it. I claim to have parliamentary knowledge. I can prove it. I put my money where my mouth is. I don't write a check with my alligator mouth that my mosquito ass can't cash. Okay? Now, let's go to Joshua's motion, which has since been deleted from the Google group. But Gmail is forever. Yeah, that's why I wrote you that PM when I said I was furious. That's what that was about. They needed you on that committee because right now it's going to be a Whitney Bill U rubber stamp. I was the lone dissenting voice on so many things that came out of that committee. What did I... Oh, I said I was going to talk about the Joshua Smith motion. All right, let me... Where's my LNC folder? Okay. I'm going to pull this up. Let me share my screen. All right, here's Joshua. You will not find this email anymore on the LNC list because it's been deleted, which is so hypocritical. But Joshua's clapback was perfect. But I got to be careful. I think there's some private emails in here I'm going to have to scroll past. That's going to give you my Laura Epke story. So basically, Joshua Smith, and it was on Christmas Eve. People got really upset. Was it the best day to do it? Probably not. But the fact is, this was happening on Christmas Eve. Tara cannot be an asshole to members on social media on Christmas Eve and the day before Christmas Eve and then claim the holiday as cover. You can't do that. So basically, he detailed about how she told one of our biggest donors that he's in the wrong party. He said he's no longer donating and the recall petition is aggression, and he called for her to be fired. Was that the nicest thing to do on Christmas Eve? No, but it wasn't the nicest thing for Tara DeSisto to call George Phillies a racist on Christmas Eve either. Okay. Then, and he attached screenshots, by the way. So he attached, let's see what screenshots he attached. Okay, George saying he will no longer be donating because of her. I thought I was the one who kept people from donating. And there's the rest. That's the one I showed. And there's her arguing with George Phillies some more. You notice none of these is the chair talking. And then George said to her, if you're claiming speech is a crime, then you are an enemy of liberty. And he is absolutely correct. And she's basically telling the Mises Caucus that they should just go start their own party. This is inappropriate for a staff member. A regular member can say that all they want. It's inappropriate for a staff member. So now, I wrote Joshua a couple things. He passed on to the LNC list, and I just told him he could pass it on. I didn't say where, and I don't care where he passed it on, where I told the story about the 50th anniversary. And he says he'll send out, because I was helping him with a policy manual. And then Tara DeSisto barges onto the list. She's not an LNC member. This list is for LNC members. She keeps abusing her posting privileges. And she says she wants this thread with her name to be taken off the business list as it violates your policies. Okay. She's technically correct. However, I think members have a right to know. So when it comes to the policy manual, she is technically correct. When it comes to morality, members deserve to know. And Richard Longstreth, of course, comes in and says he goes on with her request, blah, 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 and that it's inappropriate in Christmas Eve. Okay? And then Susan, oh my God, she just goes off out of her tree here. She says, slanderous hearsay. It wasn't hearsay. He posted her words, Susan. Hearsay, you keep saying that word, but I don't think it means what you think it means. And I ask my fellow LNC members, do not support this divisive, unproductive, and unprofessional behavior. Oh, from Joshua, but never mind, you're excusing the divisive, unproductive, and unprofessional behavior from staff members that my money goes to pay. Your priorities are fucked up, Susan. And then Joshua says, you're right, I was wrong to post this on the public list. And then he asks that posting privileges be limited to the executive director. And then Whitney jumps in. Her post here is a blatant violation of LNC policy. And these violated posts are to be removed. Okay, Whitney. He asks to cite the portion of the policy manual. Richard then does this passive-aggressive bullshit. Mr. Smith, the policy manual portion is 2.01.6.11 as of the June edition, updated then by Secretary Harlos. Who does it matter who it was updated by, Richard? What? Keep my name out of your mouth. And then I wrote to Joshua. And then this is Joshua's clapback, which is fantastic. Either way, the paragraph right above the one you're citing says, concerns regarding LNC members. Concerns regarding an LNC member's behavior should be reported to the executive committee. The executive committee will gather facts from all parties involved and present to the LNC for further review and action. If a member of the executive committee is involved in the conflict or behavior, they must recuse themselves. So he says, if you and everyone else were excused from that with Karen Ann's farce of a removal, then why am I not excused from it as well? Because they put all my shit on the public list, didn't they? Including Whitney. Corrupt hypocrites. And then I go on to have an extended conversation with Laura Epke that was private. I am not going to post that here. I posted my side of the conversation on Twitter. I ended up removing it after Laura apologized to me. And we'll go into that now. So I got into an extended discussion with Laura, because she then posts on the list, I am so surprised that Ms. Harlos asked for her comments to be posted for the public list. She is usually such a stickler for the rules. Am I, Laura? I thought you removed me for violating the rules. What am I, a stickler for the rules when you want to get a dig on me on a list that I can no longer respond to because you're an illegitimate removal of me? Or am I not a stickler for the rules? Because you can't have it both ways. Plus, so I wrote her and said, Laura, or Senator, you could have written me and asked me if I asked Joshua to post that to the public list. Because I didn't. I didn't tell him not to. I didn't tell him where. I just said, you can pass this along. I didn't care where or when. It's no longer my problem. And I took the opportunity to say, you did all that with me, you hypocrite. And then I'll admit it. In an email, I said, you fucking hypocrite. And yes, I said, fuck, Senator. What are you going to do? Remove me? And we went back and forth. But the next morning, and here's where I will praise Laura. She must have thought about it because she wrote me the next day and apologized. And I accept her apology. Over and done with. One day she'll apologize for trying to ruin my work and illegitimately stealing the delegates' votes. One day she will apologize for that. If not, I believe in karma. And one day all of these people will have something very similar to what they did to me, to them. And I hope my face floats before their eyes. Or as that song, what's it, Take a Bow, goes. Crap, I can't remember it now. It says, or I hope it gives you hell. It's like something like, I hope you see my face and I hope it gives you hell. It serves you well. says, when you see my face, I hope it gives you hell. Gives you hell. Yes. Yes. Hope you never forget my face. All right. Then what was next? I think that was it. Was that all I said I was going to cover? I think it is. You guys let me know. I'm such a terrible grifter. I didn't even get any super chats. All super chats matter. You must not only be in favor of super chats, you must actively give super chats. Yeah, Gives You Hell is the song, not Take a Bow. I know it from the Glee soundtrack. Yes, I watch Glee. Kill me. But every time I played that song so many times after their illegitimate removal of me. Because I do. I hope my face gives them hell. One day they will apologize. If not now, on the last day. Because I believe the judge of this world will do right. And one day I will have my fucking apology. All right. I think that is it. I covered Whitney's completely inappropriate, imperious, high-handed behavior to members. I covered Tara DeSisto's inappropriate behavior that it's beyond the line. And sorry, for a year, I kept saying, I just want her to stop. I don't want her to lose her job. Done. I don't want my money to go to be paying for this. Which is why I say to people, don't stop donating to the National Party, but earmark it. Earmark it. Apollo Pizzell will gratefully receive it at the Frontier Project. I would greatly receive it for the Historical Committee. Or the Ballot Access Fund will gratefully receive it. Don't punish the rest of the staff, however, because of a bad apple. And I think that's it. So I covered that. I covered Massachusetts. I covered still encouraging everyone to give money to the party because you're not hurting the LNC if you stop your donations entirely. You are hurting the regular membership. Be in Reno, baby. Be in Reno. Because we need to turn this party around. And I'm going to give you my dark horse prediction. I have zero evidence for this prediction. It's a gut feeling. And like I said before, to my horror, my political instincts are very good. And it makes me want to throw up in my mouth because I hate politics. But here's my dark horse prediction. No evidence. Telling you this is just me pulling it out of my libertarian ass. Valerie Sarwark's going to run for vice chair. That's my prediction. I could be wrong, but I'm saying it here publicly so I don't get to say later like I did with oh, thank you, Stephen. My grifting mattered. All grifting matters. Oh, boy. And somebody earlier had said they love this shirt. I love this shirt, too. I'm going to show you this cool little, isn't that nice little thing on here? But here's the best part. It's Goodwill. It was Goodwill. But that's my prediction. I wonder how many here agree with my prediction. Because I'm not the only one who's had this gut feeling. I've talked to many people who have had this gut feeling. Because Valerie fools people. Valerie fooled me. Boy, did she fool me. Boy, did she set me up so hard. I am gullible. Man, I am gullible. She set me up. And she fools people because she is such a pretty lady. And she seems so sweet. And I was saying up and down last convention, don't judge her by her shitty husband. But now I'm saying the opposite. I think she's worse. Because Nick at least is openly a shitheel. She pretends like she's not. She pretends like she's this sweet little mother. And she's not. She is not. At least Nick, he openly says eat a dick. I was fooled. If I had told, listen, I want to tell you the way she played me. I'm embarrassed, but let me tell you the way she played me. She used to call me all sweet. She used to call me all sweet, asking for my advice, flattering the hell out of me, and I fell for it. We can all fall for flattery. She called me, buttering me up and down, fishing for compliments, wanting my support for this and that, and she was just so sweet that I believed her. And then she turned around and stabbed me in the back. She played me like a violin, man. She was a maestro. She played me better than most people ever have. I was such a sucker for that. I am so stupid. But I am a bit gullible. I am. I'm too forgiving. I'm too quick to give the benefit of the doubt. But once I'm done, I'm done. Like, it takes a lot for me to be done. And that's why a lot of people, like, decide, like, once I'm done, they're like, ooh, something must be really bad. So she'll sweet talk those delegates, and I think she's got a good chance of winning. And that will be a nightmare for Angela. And yes, Eric Raudsup is running for vice chair. So far, the only declared candidates that I know about for vice chair are Eric Raudsup and Joshua Smith. There's a bunch of declared candidates for at-large. John Wilford's declared against me for secretary. He's their chosen one, who doesn't know that IRV requires a majority vote, yet claimed to be a parliamentarian with stolen valor, but a super nice guy. Tyler Smith, also a nice guy, is declared against me. I've had a candid discussion with him that all he's going to do is split the radical vote because he can't win without Mises, and he doesn't have Mises support. But Tyler's going to do what he's going to do. And I never have a bad word to say about Tyler. Okay, I think that might be it. But I see there's an interesting chat going on with my terrorist friend, Justin. He's such a terrorist. Oh, my word. And by the way, Wayne said, okay, what I've got here on my wrist, this is a fake tattoo. This isn't a real tattoo. This is a tattoo marker because I'm such a Becky. I'm such a Becky when it comes to that. Such a white girl Becky. But I wanted to see if I liked it. Now I want a tattoo here so freaking bad. So Wayne said if I win the secretary's race, that he would allow me, and don't get all triggered by the allow thing. I believe that when you talk about altering your body permanently, you should have the blessing of your spouse, okay? I got his permission too to dye my hair pink. I don't have to look at myself every day. He does. So he said, fine. If you win the secretary's race, you can get a anarchy tattoo on your wrist. But here's the thing. Because I was out of work for 6 months, I sell plasma as a way to help make some of the bills. And you can't do plasma for a year after you get a tattoo. So it depends upon my financial condition, if I win, whether I'd get it right away. But I will get one eventually because I love it. I love it. All right, I think that is it. I need to now go do my version of the December minutes because I'm still doing my job. I was waiting till the person who fraudulently filled my seat did theirs first because I want to compare the two. I'm not looking at his until I'm finished with mine, and I'll tell you the differences. Maybe I'll love his. I did glance at them and notice that the footer was all fucked up, and it's like, come on, dude, you can't get the footer right? Plus, you're using my template that I created. Yeah, it belongs to the party. You can use it. But I can tell you that when I won, and I knew Alicia and I were not in good terms, though I respected the hell out of her, I did not use her minutes template. I felt that would be disrespectful. I created my own, and he's using my template. Fuck you. It's my template. It's my template, and I'll cry if I want to. Yes, I am being a salty bitch. The template I created for the LP, it belongs to the LP. But really, create your own template, dude. And don't fuck up the footer if you're going to use my template. Don't make it look ugly. Okay. We are going to go now. I thank you all for your attention. I hope this was enlightening to you. You will not get this content anywhere else. Anyone who wants a copy of that redacted screenshot of our illustrious chair being rude as hell to a member with a legitimate complaint, write me and I will send it to you. It should be spread far and wide. Write me and I will send you that screenshot of, I see no reason to disaffiliate New Hampshire, but I can't bring myself to vote no. Those things need to not be, never forget. Hashtag never forget. Okay, now I'm a little drunk. Been drinking my cognac. Justin, will I see you in New Hampshire? Oh yeah, I will see you in New Hampshire. You're from New Hampshire. I am really drunk now. I will see you the end of January. Hopefully we can go out and have a good time. I don't mean it like that. That came out wrong. I'm married. Okay, guys, I'm going to go now. Had way too much cognac. You have an awesome night. And again, if you enjoy this content and you can become a patron, patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. I'd greatly appreciate it. Have an awesome night. Mi guapas de libertad. Which, if you guys wonder what that means, it means my beautiful people of liberty. Guapas means beautiful. It's a slang term. It's the feminized version of beautiful, but in Hispanic communities, to say mi guapas is my beautiful ones. So, mi guapas de libertad.
You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business.